Let's go over the review for tomorrow's quiz. And for this quiz, we will be going over adding and subtracting decimals as well as multiplying and dividing decimals. And so I just want to go over some tips. I may not go over every single problem, but I will go over enough of it or enough parts and things just to remember for you to be able to do it on your own. So let's begin with the first one. It says find the sum of these two numbers. And obviously sum means that we are adding them together. So remember that when you're adding or subtracting decimals, ladies and gentlemen, it is necessary for you to line up the place values. It is necessary for you to line up the decimals. And so in this case, we have 19 and 24 hundredths plus, notice the decimals right here. So we have 12 and 88 hundredths. All right, so the 2 and the 9 are both in the ones place, the 1s are in the tens place, the 2 and the 8 are in the tenths place, and the 4 and the 8 are in the hundredths place. Now I can actually add them together. And now when you're adding or subtracting, ladies and gentlemen, the decimal comes straight down. The decimal comes straight down. So in this case, 4 plus 8 is 12. Notice that I just add normally. 8 plus 2 is 10, plus 1 is 11. On the other side of the decimal, 9, 10, 12. And so we have 32 and 12 hundredths. And that's my answer, 32 and 12 hundredths. Pretty simple. So now notice question number 2, it says find the difference. And in math, difference always means subtraction. Now, the only difference when you're adding and subtracting, as far as like how you set it up, guys, is that in subtraction, you must put the first number first. Over here as well, the first number must go on top. The first number must go first. In subtraction, the order is very important. So in this case, it's going to be 45 and 17 hundredths minus, and again, line up the decimal because we are subtracting. Whenever you're adding or subtracting, you must line up the decimal, 85 hundredths. All right, it doesn't matter where the number is or if anything weird is hanging, as long as you line up the decimals. And if we're subtracting, the first number goes on top, you are going to be golden. All right, 7 minus 5 is 2. I cannot take 8 from 1, but I can borrow. So that's 4. This becomes an 11. 8 to 11 is 3. Yes. Decimal comes straight down because we are subtracting. I cannot take 9 from 4, so we borrow again. That becomes 14, so that's going to be 5. And that's going to be 2. So my answer would be 25 and 32 hundredths. All right, you can do number 3 on your own since we are once again subtracting, but let's go to number 4. It says find the product. And we must know that in math, product always means multiplication. Remember that when you're multiplying, guys, you don't necessarily have to line up the decimals. You don't have to line up the decimals. And in fact, as a better example, I'm going to do question 5 where we're also multiplying. Because notice that they have different amounts of digits. So which number goes on top? You don't put necessarily the largest number, but the one with the most digits. So here we have 3 digits. Here we have 2 digits. So I'm going to put the one with 3 digits on top. 12 and 1/10 times 5 and 2 hundredths. Now notice that the decimals do happen to be lined up, but I'm ignoring them. All right, I'm not lining up the decimal necessarily. I'm lining up the digits. The digits. For example, if this happened to be 12 and 100th times 5.2, notice how I'm still lining up the digits. I'm ignoring the decimal. So ignore the decimal until the very end. Put it down wherever it lands, but let's ignore the decimal. So let's go ahead and work this out. So 2 times 1 is 2. Now we do 2 times 2, which is 4. And 2 times 1, which is 2. Okay, so we're done with the 2. So I'm going to put a 0 underneath this column, and we continue with the 5. 5 times 1 is 5. 5 times 2 is 10. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 1 is 6. So ladies and gentlemen, that leaves me with 2, 9, 2, 6. All right, so how do I know where the decimal goes? Well, this is around 2, and this is around 12, and this is around 5. 5 times 12 is 60. So my answer should be around 60. It should not be 6,292 or 629 and 2/10. No. So what you do is that you look at the factors. In this case, we have these factors up here, and we can see we have 2 decimal places or 2 numbers behind the decimal total, 1, 2. So that means that I need to have 2 decimal places in my answer down here. So my final answer will be 62 and 92 hundredths. 62 and 92 hundredths. So do be careful with the multiplication process. And finally, we have a division problem down here where we're given 42 hundredths divided by 1 and 2 tenths. Remember, guys, that the first number always goes inside the division box. So here we have 42 hundredths divided into 1 and 2 tenths. Now, ladies and gentlemen, remember, we do not like decimals on the outside. So we do have a decimal on the outside, so I need to go ahead and move that to make this into a whole number. And now whatever I did to the outside, we do to the inside. So I need to take this decimal, move it over just one time. So now we have 4.2 divided by 12. 4.2 divided by 12. Now the decimal goes straight up. All right, so 12 obviously doesn't go into 0 or 4, but it does go into 42. It goes into 42 3 times. 12 times 3 would give me 36. We subtract them. So this, we need to borrow. This becomes a 12. 12 minus 6 is 6. And this is 0. All right, so we're not done. We are not done because remember, ladies and gentlemen, that we have an infinite amount of zeros to continue to bring down. So I'm going to bring down as many zeros as I need. So I'm going to bring down, because 4.2 is the same thing as 4.20. So bring down the 0. 12 goes into 60 exactly 5 times. 12 times 5 is 60. So ladies and gentlemen, my final answer would be 35 hundredths. 35 hundredths. All right, ladies and gentlemen, hopefully this was short and sweet, and hopefully you find this video helpful, and I will see you next time.